Hamdan's wife felt her heart pounding in her chest. The very rumor she had brushed off as nonsense was now unfolding before her eyes, turning into a brutal reality. Just a few days ago, someone had told her that Hamdan frequently visited a particular hotel and spent hours there with a woman. But she had refused to believe it. She had thought it was just baseless gossip, a lie meant to stir trouble. Yet, when more people mentioned the same thing, a small seed of doubt took root in her heart. In the end, unable to shake off the unease, she had discreetly arranged for someone to follow him, to uncover the truth, and today, here she was, standing outside that very hotel, her breath caught in her throat. Her steps were heavy as she pushed the door open and stepped inside, feeling an overwhelming weight pressed down on her chest. Then she saw it, Hamdan. With another woman. Inside the very room that had been described to her. They were sitting together, their conversation easy, their expressions relaxed. There was warmth in his eyes, the same warmth that once used to belong to her alone. Her heart clenched painfully. A slow, burning sensation crept up her throat, but she refused to let a single tear fall. She wouldn't crumble. Not here. Not now. She stepped forward, her voice eerily calm despite the storm raging within her. "So it's true," she said, her words slicing through the air like a blade. "You really do come here." With her, Hamdan's head snapped up, his eyes widening in shock. For a moment, he looked as if he had been struck by lightning. The woman beside him turned as well, an uneasy expression crossing her face. Hamdan slowly stood up, his lips parting, searching for words. "Listen, it's not what you think, not what I think." She let out a bitter laugh. "Do you have any idea how pathetic that sounds? I wanted to believe you, Hamdan. I wanted to believe that no matter how many rumors I heard, no matter what people whispered behind my back, you would never do this to me." "Just let me explain," he said, taking a step forward. "Explain?" She shook her head. "There's nothing left to explain. I saw it with my own eyes. And you didn't even look guilty. You looked happy. Comfortable. Like you belonged here, with her." The woman beside Hamdan shifted uncomfortably. "I should probably, don't bother," Hamdan's wife cut in sharply, her gaze never leaving her husband. "You've already done enough." Hamdan ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident on his face. "It's complicated." "No, Hamdan," she whispered, her voice carrying the weight of heartbreak. "It's actually very simple. You made a choice. And now, I have to make mine." She turned away, her hands trembling at her sides. Every step she took felt heavier than the last, but she didn't stop. She wouldn't look back. Not this time. Hamdan didn't even notice her presence. He sat there, completely at ease, lost in conversation with the woman beside him, as if this was the most natural thing in the world. As if there was nothing wrong. His wife felt moisture gathering in her eyes, but she refused to let the tears fall. She stood there, frozen, her heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. One question echoed through her mind, over and over again. Was this the man she had trusted with everything? The man she had sacrificed so much for? Her feet instinctively moved backward, as if her body wanted to escape, to run away from this unbearable sight. But her heart wouldn't allow it. A part of her desperately wanted him to turn around, to look into her eyes, to see what he had done. She wanted him to face the reality of his betrayal and decide for himself. Could he even meet her gaze after this? But Hamdan remained completely unaware, lost in his own world. A hollow silence settled inside her before she finally turned around and walked away. The hallway of the hotel felt endless, each step heavier than the last. The air outside was cold, brushing against her skin as she stepped out, but the fire raging inside her refused to die down. She reached her car, gripping the steering wheel for a moment as she tried to steady her hands. She inhaled deeply, forcing herself to stay calm. There were no tears in her eyes, not anymore. No, she wasn't going to cry. She had cried enough. Instead, She took out her phone and dialed a number. The call was answered on the first ring. "I have all the proof," the voice on the other end said without hesitation. "Videos, pictures, everything. Whatever you decide to do with it is up to you." She closed her eyes for a brief moment, her heart pounding. Then, in a steady voice, she said, "Send me everything." There was a pause before the person responded. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Her grip on the phone tightened. "I need to see it all." A notification popped up on her screen as the files started arriving. She stared at the first image, her jaw clenching. It was real. Every doubt she had pushed aside, every excuse she had made for him, it had all been in vain. The proof was right in front of her. Her fingers hovered over the screen, scrolling through the images and videos one by one. The betrayal felt deeper with every passing second. She exhaled sharply, her mind racing. There were only two choices now: either she let this break her, or she made sure Hamdan's world came crashing down just as mercilessly as he had shattered hers. Hamdan's wife gripped the steering wheel so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Her eyes were burning red, her breaths uneven, and her mind echoed with only one thought: Hamdan had betrayed her. The first time someone had told her, she had laughed it off as a ridiculous rumor. The second time, doubt had crept in, but she had still convinced herself that Hamdan would never do such a thing. But today, she had seen it with her own eyes. "Send me everything," she growled into the phone. The person on the other end hesitated for a brief moment before responding. "All right, you'll have it all soon." She ended the call and threw her phone onto the passenger seat with such force that it bounced off. Her entire body was trembling with rage. Hamdan's smile, his tenderness, the warmth that once belonged to her alone, was now for someone else. "I gave you my whole world, and you turned me into a spectacle," she hissed through clenched teeth, her hands curling into fists. She flung the car door open and stormed toward the hotel entrance. But just as she reached the doorway, she stopped abruptly. No, she wasn't going to act on impulse. She wasn't going to let her emotions turn her into a fool. No, she wouldn't be the one making a scene. She would make him the spectacle. Her eyes glowed with a dangerous fire, a storm brewing within her. Taking a deep breath, she reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and dialed another number. She placed the call on speaker as soon as it connected. "Tomorrow's headlines," she said coldly. "Make sure they're unforgettable. The world needs to know Hamdan's truth." A confident voice responded, "Consider it done. By morning, everyone will know." She ended the call, a slow, venomous smile curling on her lips. This game was no longer in Hamdan's hands. It was in hers, and now, the betrayal he thought he could keep hidden would be on full display for the entire world to see. The next morning, the entire Arab world was shaken by one explosive headline: Hashtag Sheikh Hamdan's shocking scandal. Newspapers, news channels, and social media platforms were ablaze with the same sensational story. The Honorable Sheikh of Dubai caught in a secret love affair. The royal heir exposed for infidelity against his wife. The whispers had turned into a deafening storm, shaking the very foundation of the royal family's reputation. This wasn't just gossip, it was a scandal of catastrophic proportions.